is obviously a hardcore Fleet Street guy, you know, he had all these cameras all over the place. He was bottom of a mile away, a hardcore journalist, you know. And so I says to him, hey, I'm the stage manager, I'm running the main stage, we've got all these bands on tonight and everything, it's really good, right? He says, yeah. Oh, shit, he's not really that interested. So I says, the Sex Pistols, we got the Sex Pistols on this, it was a Thursday night, so we got the Sex Pistols on this weekend, Saturday night. Well, of course, the Sex Pistols are front page news every other day of that year, you know what I mean? So he obviously went, even if I was lying or not, he didn't really care. And the next day on about 3 front pages, it was Sex Pistols against the at Stonehenge. Sex Pistols versus the Druids or something like that. I can't remember the exact phrase. But it's all over the front page of the Sun and the various papers. So then we hit the pubs in Amesbury, me and a bunch of mates, and I just went around the whole pub collecting 10 pences of people, about 50 quid or 30 quid, 20. I was just pumping them into these machines, into the coin boxes them days, making all these phone calls to Fleet Street, every newspaper, trying to get more publicity, and we milked it anyway. It was the easiest bunch of front pages we ever got down at Stonehenge, man. And it was all on hype, really. The Sex Pistols refused to play, man. I saw to Malcolm O'Lara and Sid Vin going on. Then the scene moved on from there, from San Francisco, Golden Gate Park, the big love-ins, the big hippie gatherings there. It moved on to Woodstock, 1969. About 1 million people turned up, but loads of them had no tickets and food or anything. It was all, you know. Anyway, there's a guy called John Sinclair, who John Lennon sings about, and he started the White Panthers, a sister group of the Black Panthers. And the White Panthers had thousands of hippies, free food at Woodstock. The fences came down, and Woodstock was declared a free festival, you know. So anyway, the scene moved on to Isle of Wight in England, 1970, and the Isle of Wight in England, 500,000 more people turned up. But again, many had no tickets, and so the White Panthers, the UK, we had the UK branch of the White Panthers by then, and they fed 30,000 hot free meals to the people. The fences came down, a free festival was declared. So that was Jimi Hendrix's last gig, you know. I love Jimi Hendrix, he was great, you know. Anyway, and then there was the Reading Rock Festivals in 1971. Well, at the Reading Rock Festival there's a huge fence and lots of security and stuff, and loads of people were trying to get in free. Too noisy, man. Wait a little bit. Is that too much interference?
No, it's just about at the end, just then.
Yeah. So do the Reading bit again?
Do the Reading bit again, yeah, cheers.
Yeah. So then after the Isle of Wight, you had the... That was my time for a beer. One sip, sorry. We're going to have to interject it in between the sound, I think, the background sound.
It's alright now. Okay, if you pick up from Reading Rock Festival.
So then it all moves on to the Reading Rock Festival, and like the Reading Rock Festival, there's a big security thing there, big fences and stuff, loads of people, hundreds and hundreds of people outside, thousands really, couldn't get in, you see. So there was this mass storming of the gate, you know, trying to get over the fence, hundreds of people trying to get over the fence, and it was chaos with heavy security. So, well, Bill Dwyer, he realised that this leads to Bill Dwyer's idea for the Windsor Free Festival. Now Windsor is near Reading, just outside London, and he prints and distributes millions of leaflets in 1972, 1973, 1974. Huge amounts of people turn up. It got bigger and bigger each year. Anyway, more of that later on. So anyway, about this time, it was 1970, 1985, there's a huge squatting scene in London. A bit like in San Francisco with Emmett Grover did all his leaflets and stuff. And there was a lot of people around, and he he galvanised these people with the Windsor Free Festivals and everything scene. So anyway, then Wally Hope walks on the scene with the idea for the Stonehenge Free Festival in 1974. And, you know, his timing was absolutely perfect. You know, he wrote to Radio Caroline. Radio Caroline loved the idea. They were one of the main stations, a pirate station in England at the time. Everyone used to listen, well, everyone on the hippie scene used to listen to Radio Caroline, and they loved it, and they plugged it constantly for months and months in advance. You know, and that's what the main advertising Wally Hope did for the Stonehenge, first Stonehenge. And then, you know, that's when I first met Wally Hope, 1974. And Wally Hope, he started the Wally camp, and he was a really nice guy, you know. His timing was absolutely perfect. He had it all, you know, the time was perfect. So then, like, later on we went to Watchfield. It's 1975. And Watchfield was like Windsor in exile. By then, Bill Wally was in prison for the, you know, same with Emmett Grogan. He got sort of in trouble because, you know, like, for all causing these great big gatherings in Golden Gate Park. Bill Wally did the same. He got in trouble for organising these great big gatherings in Windsor as well, you see. So then it went to the Watchfield thing, and loads of people at Watchfield, Arthur Brown, fire, you know, Arthur Brown. And then you had Ginger Baker, Traffic, Stevie Winwood, they all played there at Watchfield, loads of other bands as well. About this time I got involved, 1975, and I printed millions of leaflets, posters and flyers over the years, you know. I wrote hundreds of letters to the alternative press. And I used to work for a record company, and I went down all the addresses, and I phoned up loads of famous bands like the Beatles and all these other people, and you know, and I helped with the main stage of White Panther again. The White Panthers did let me their stage, so you know, I brought the stage down to Stonehenge, the White Panther stage down to Stonehenge to the main stage, and I got in a lot of trouble as well about it because I ended up doing several months in prison as a political prisoner over Stonehenge, believe it or not. This is crazy because Stonehenge is like a centre of energy, set like a chakra for this planet, and it's right in the middle of England, and we should celebrate it, and you know, and it was yeah. So Wally Hope was a great man, and he inspired us all. But also, you mustn't forget Emmett Grogan and Bill Wire, and the other people who've also been on this story, you know. So
I think. Need to, you know, we were talking earlier about the White Panthers.
Yeah.
Explain a bit about the White Panthers, that they're offshoot of the Black Panthers and they support the Black Panthers.
Yeah. So, like with the main stage and everything, the White Panthers, we had quite a few black people in the White Panthers. The White Panthers is a branch of the Black Panthers. You know, we were solidarity, we're a sister group of the Black Panthers, you know, the White Panthers. We're like the sissies of the, you know, the hippies. But you know, we weren't quite as serious as the Black Panthers, but we were the White Panthers, and we fed all the hippies and all that at Stonehenge and at the Isle of Wight, 30,000 hot meals, you know, for a lot of people. People really, you know, the way it was, you know, and the White Panthers. John Sinclair's still around at this point in time, and John Lennon sings about him, and I think got John Lennon in quite a bit of trouble, some of these stories. But anyway.
Excellent, yeah, okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take some shots of the things so I can do cutaways what to point to, and then we'll go into the interview.
Okay.
How is that for you, Rog?
Yeah, cool, mate.
I'd like to do it all again. You know what I mean? Like, you know.
No, I don't think that'd be necessary, actually.
I was slightly nervous doing that, I noticed, you know what I mean? Like, you know?
It seemed alright, didn't seem too nervous to me, a little bit kind of
Especially at the beginning, I was slightly nervous. You know.
Do you want to do the beginning again?
Yeah, maybe.
Would you be happy doing it again?
Yeah, I'd be happy doing it again. Yeah.
Okay.
It might not be. It's not always the second take is as better. Often it is. I'll try and do it again.
Okay. Okay. I'll just do these cutaways and then. Okay.
Thanks for pulling me up about the Black Panthers, because the last thing I want to get is people think there's some racist group or something like that, and he wasn't. He was very much a
anti-racist, right?
yeah,
And supported the Black Panthers.
supported them.
Yeah.
It was just, you really couldn't be a Black Panther if you were white, but you know, you're sort of like saying you're friendly with them, really. You know, it all kind of like the White Panthers faded away, so as the Black Panthers faded away. You know what I mean? It was it was a thing of the moment at the times, you know. But it was very important in its day, you know, empowering of people. You know, it's good, you know.
Motor City 5.
Eh?
Motor City 5.
MC5, yeah.
And John Sinclair was their manager, wasn't he, the MC5?
I believe he was, MC5. I should put MC5 there as well, but I think that maybe some people fill in the painting by dots by numbers, you know, people can fill in the dots themselves a little bit, you know, because it's such a huge story. It's like how long's a piece of string, and the Wally Hope story is lots of different things coming into the story, you know what I mean? And but what I like about this is it's when you're focusing on one story about Wally Hope, often people forget the bigger picture and what inspired the background information. This is the background, the Summer of Love with the Emmett Grogan and the Free Lovings in Golden Gate Park, you know, and how he handed out leaflets in all around San Francisco and got loads of people. You know, gradually built up the festival in Golden Gate Park. It got closed down, the Lovings did eventually, you know. People used to have flowers in their hair and everything like that. It was the Summer of Love, they called it, you know, so it's beautiful. And then it moved on to Woodstock, 1969, about 1 million people turned up there. But again, a lot of people with no tickets, no food. So that's again where John Sinclair, who John Lennon sings about, he started up the White Panthers, which is a sister group of the Black Panthers, you know, solidarity with the Black Panthers, you know. And the White Panthers feed thousands of hippies free food at Woodstock. The fences come down and it's declared a free festival. So NSC moves on to England, United Kingdom, and then the Isle of Wight Festival, and you know, 500,000 people, but many have no tickets. And the White Panthers feed 30,000 hot free meals. The fences come down. A free festival is declared. It was Jimi Hendrix's last gig, you know. R.I.P. Jimi Hendrix. Love Jimi Hendrix. You know. Anyway, then you move on to the Reading Rock Festival, which was another type of festival with big fences and lots of security, and so anyway, there was a big thing, people trying to get into the Reading Rock Festival, again, just outside London, the Reading Rock Festival near Windsor and all that, and loads of people trying to storm in. There was apparently a huge thing storming the gate, the fence trying to get in. So this leads to Bill de Wyre's idea. He realised there's a need for a free festival, and so he prints up millions of leaflets and distributes millions of leaflets. In 1972, 73, 74, and there's the Windsor Festival will happen then, you see. And then like all this time, there's a huge squatting scene in London, 1970 to 85, a bit similar to San Francisco, the Emmett Grogan and the Free Lovings in San Francisco, kind of a similar bit, lots of people wanting something to do, hippies, you know. So, onto the scene walks Wally Hope with his idea for the Stonehenge Free Festival in 1974. So, you know, and he writes to Radio Caroline, and they love the idea. and they plug it for months in advance before June, you know. And so like they were listened to about 500,000 listeners, you know, regular listeners of Radio Caroline. That was his main advertising, Wally Hope's main advertising. And that's when I first met him, 1974. Amazing guy, you know, really nice guy. And his timing was absolutely perfect, you know. And he started at the Wally camp. He went round, he told us all, when the press turn up, all say you're Wally. Everyone said it. We all agreed, you know. And we did, you know, and it worked. You know, he was a very amazing guy, Willy Hope, you know. And then after that, we got close down Watchfield Festival with Arthur Brown, fire, fire. You know, Ginger Baker with Traffic, and Stevie Winwood with Blind Faith, and all these amazing world bands, you know, Watchfield. That was another free festival we had, you see, just after that. That was the last time I saw Wally Hope, and he was like, by then he'd been through his whole thing with the mental health, the health system, and he was heavily sedated on Largaptol at the time when I met him at Watchfield. And he was like zombified. I reckon it would take him a few years to sober up at least. He was so out of it on the Largaptol, you know. But anyway, that's when I got involved. I printed up millions of stickers, 500,000 stickers, 500,000 leaflets over 12 years or so. And you know, I wrote hundreds of letters to the press, the alternative press, over 12 years. And I was working for a record company, and I was going down, phoned up all these, so I had access to all these phone numbers, private phone numbers, all these superstars and people. So I was phoning up the Beatles, and all these people would say, bring your friends, tell all your mates, get down to Stonehenge and all that. It's got another few thousand people down there. And we were in the main stage, it was the White Panther stage. They lent me their stage, you see, the old Windsor stage. And they let me take that down to Stonehenge, and some of them came down and helped with the generators and stuff like that. And so, yeah, so like Emmett Grogan or Build a Wire or, you know, or Wally Hope, I also got in trouble with it. I ended up doing a few months in prison for organising these massive illegal gatherings, you know. Anyway, and also Spiral Tribe, you know, with Castle Morton, which is when they got involved in the whole thing, which brings the techno thing into the whole thing. And when the hippies amalgamated with the ravers, and we all joined up together and had this big thing at Castle Morton, which is a massive rave, a beauty spot in near Wales. And that was a kind of continuous story. The Wally Hope story. Wally Hope was an amazing guy, a really good guy, but he wasn't alone, because there's people like Emmett Grogan, Build a Wire, you know, other people involved who've also done similar things. And Wally Hope stood out because he had this highly spiritual vision of the whole thing with Stonehenge, you know.
Oh, wait for that band to put away. So good stuff. Excellent.
The second one was a bit better than the first
second one.
Actually,
Yeah.
I was surprised.
Was, yeah.
I mean, the first one was a bit too nervous.
Yeah,
A
bit more loosened up. Yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't really talked out in front of people. I've mostly done it on my own. I've talked out in front of people about at the party. I talked out in front of people a couple of times briefly.
Oh right, did you? Oh, right.
There was a lot of people. The door was ringing, and I had to relate to a lot of people. And I've never really actually spent it with people here so far. This is the first proper rehearsal. So
things I could cut between the best of the two.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just like, you know, that would be good. Also, this looks like a tablet, you know.
Yeah.
So, like,
a giant pill.
Someone saying, you know, I could turn it into, there's me ranting away about this and that and that. About it, and then this whole thing starts spinning around, you know, this wheel, and turns into like a big tablet. LSD tablet, of course, yeah. But anyway,
so
that's another story.
Shall we go into the interview then?
Yeah.
The Free Festival movement, to start with, to begin with, what drew you to it?
The Free Festival, I just sort of fell into it, you know, it just sort of happened, and, you know, I got involved in it.
Hold on a sec. It's nice the
It's up to in the back room.
is that a police or
Ambulance or something. It's not too bad around here. I used to live in King's Cross, and honest to God, all day and all night. You could almost time it, you know, like every 3/4 of an hour there'd be a siren going past. There'd mostly be fire engines and ambulances and police cars, and all day and all night, you know. So around here it's not so bad.
no, it's pretty peaceful right there, isn't it?
It's beautiful. At night time it's so quiet out here. It's unbelievable sometimes, you know. Consider it so central. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know.
So, free festival scene. What drew you to it?
Well, I was very young. I mean, when I met Wally Hope, I was 17 years old and all that. You know, just naturally sort of started hanging around when I was about 16 with a lot of people who were organising festivals and stuff, and a lot of old hippies around Camden Town.
Do you remember when and where you met Phil for the first time?
Yes. I met Wally Hope in 1974 at Stonehenge, you know, and he used to basically go around saying to everyone, all meet up, and we'll all, the people who were enjoying it at Stonehenge, would stay a bit longer. And everyone was about to go. There was about 1,000. He'd organised this thing with Radio Caroline, and there were about 1,000 hippies there. No, several hundred hippies there, and basically everyone was going. And there was about a certain amount of people who didn't want to go, you know, and still waiting to stay a bit longer. And Wally Hope was saying, come up here, we all camp together, the ones who want to stay. And so I went up and camped with the others. I had no tent or anything, of course, me and my mate. Yeah, we sleep under a piece of polythene, I think it was, or something like that, you know. But we went and joined the Wally camp, and then there was Chris Waite was there. He brought a teepee along, I put a teepee up. Another friend of Wally Hope brought a big dome, a massive dome, as big as his garden. It was a great big 30-foot dome, big round dome, more. And about 30 of us all stayed in his dome. And he said to me, when the press turned up, all call yourself Wally. Everyone just agreed. We all just agreed. He was just one of those guys, you know, why not, you know? And yeah, so his personality was amazing. You know what I mean? Wally Hope's personality. He just got us all. You know, he captured the moment. You know.
So, what was the mood in the camp like? Because, you know, it was quite difficult circumstances to live in, wasn't it? There wasn't a lot of places to clean and get food and stuff like that. So, how did you get by when you were at the camp?
Well, I mean, you know, people were. You know, we were pretty skint, most of us, but we all kind of like, you know, there were some people more resourceful than others, and a lot of us were very young, were teenagers basically. You know, it was unfortunate, it was more men than women, you know, all youngsters, you know, but we got by, you know, and it was a really good thing. There was always enough food, and there was always enough, you know, we were smoking marijuana quite a lot. And we kind of hit it lucky in a lot of ways, you know. It was just the right time in the right place, you know.
Because I hear that Phil Wally wasn't there all the time. He used to sort of stay at the camp for a bit, then go to Ongar with his guidance, and then come back again. Did that cause any? Because I've heard that some people had some resentment about that he wasn't like at the camp all the time.
I never picked up any resentment against Wally Hope. Wally Hope was extremely popular in the camp. Basically, there was two groups of people in the camp. There was the older group, about 5 or 6 older people who were in their 20s and 30s and stuff. The rest of us were all teenagers, really. You know what I mean? And up 20-year-olds, and I was 16, 17, and my friend was 16, and they're all kind of like that. And no one really, everyone just accepted that they were the elders, so, you know, and he would never go away for long. He'd only go away for 3 or 4 days at a time, and he'd always be back again. And he'd tell us when he'd come back, so we knew we'd only be out there a few days, and then he'd turn up again. So, you know, there was no problem like that. You know, I never heard it called Fort Wally either. I never heard the military terminology. That was something that's been added lately, or maybe 1 or 2 people call it Fort Wally. I don't know, but that's a myth, the Fort Wally bit. It was just a Wally camp, we called it.
I think that's where that's come from, is that it was referred to in one flyer, like Fort Wally, and I think then it's got picked up on and distorted.
Well, that's the way of the modern media, you know, that even when you look back in history, you'll hear the person who bothered to write down the events, and that would be your history, and there'd be 200 other people who didn't bother to write it down, and we don't know what their records are, you know.
Were you involved in the court case? I mean, were you there when the Department of Environment came down and served the summons and the writs?
Yes, I was, yeah.
Oh, God, do you remember what happened then?
Well, basically what we did is we went through the whole motions of the whole thing, and there's a big court case in national media and stuff like that, and there was loads of reports out every day, and basically we all got evicted in the high courts, and then basically there was a fence, you know, between the National Trust land and what was owned, the land that was owned, the track was owned by the council. So we just moved across the fence basically and moved onto the track, simple as that. And so they had to go for another court eviction to go off the track. So I don't think they expected that. Because where we were camped, the Wally camp was right near the fence on the track, you see. So it was just a matter of moving across the fence, and then it's another legal situation again, and so the whole court case had to take place again.
Do you know whose idea it was, or was it collective?
My idea to move across the fence.
Oh, right.
But I didn't, that wasn't original, it was my idea coming from the squatting scene of Camden. We knew you get evicted out of one house, you move to the house next door quite often, so that was the idea, you know.
Yeah.
And that extended the whole thing by a good few months, you know.
So what was your feeling about the court case? Were you actually there at the court case?
No, I stayed at the camp. I did go into London. A lot of the people did go to London but there was only room in the cars to go to London for the court case for about 8 or 10 people. So about 8 or 10 people, I can't remember the exact numbers, all went to the court case in London. And they came back the same evening, I believe it was. The next day they came back and told us all about it. Stuff like that.
Because it was in all the newspapers as well.
Yeah. It was major publicity for it.
Do you remember reading the papers, like the Wally's reading the paper?
Yeah. I was quoted in the paper, the first time ever I was quoted in the newspaper. I was, the Daily Telegraph, all things. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's quite an eye-opener to me, you know.
So, after Stonehenge, it got a bit colder. So after the squat at Stonehenge, it got a bit colder. You moved to Amesbury. Can you remember the squat in Amesbury? What that was like?
Well, basically, 1974 is also the year the Windsor Festival happened. So we stayed at Windsor, we stayed at Stonehenge from June to August. And then we all left Stonehenge, all the Wally camp moved down to Windsor, the festival at Windsor. Well, the Windsor Festival turned into a riot, you see, and the police closed it down. There was 50,000 people turned up, they didn't want it anymore, and it got closed down. So then there was a big meeting in Hyde Park, and about a few thousand, I think it's 3,000 people turned up, a meeting in Hyde Park. And Dr. John, a guy called Dr. John Pollard, he had his big army truck, and he set up a PA on that, and on that we were talking to the crowd and everything like that. At this point, Wally Hope, I believe, was in prison or something like that. He'd already been incarcerated, I'm not sure. But anyway, we were all talking, and then they said, oh, and this is one of the Wallies from the Stonehenge Wally camp. Of course, we had loads of publicity. I got up and stayed. I said, oh, yeah, we're all going down. We've been thrown out of Windsor, but we're all going down to Stonehenge. You know, and we're going to squat the local Aylesbury town. All that. There's a huge cheer went up for the crowd and all that. Oh, well, yeah. So anyway, next thing is loads of people moved into these 2 or 3 houses in Amesbury, the squats there, you see, which I only went to about 4 or 5 times, you know, because I was in London. It was difficult getting backwards and forwards and that. But that's where the next stage of the situation happened, and it was cold. Stonehenge in the winter is cold, you know. There's no doubt about it, you know. So people preferred at first to be in the Amesbury camp, but some people liked being at the actual Stonehenge site. So what happened? We built a hut. I got this lorry, like my friend had a lorry, and we had loads of wood and stuff, and so we went down and we built a hut down at the Wally camp, and and it was all moved into this sort of a few tents, and there was a small outpost at Stonehenge, and then maybe twice as many people in the Amesbury thing, and backwards and forwards, only 2 miles apart, backwards and forwards all the time. And then that's what happened with Wally Hope. There's some of the local lads were going down the rubbish bins behind the back of a supermarket, and they were getting all the cakes that were 1 day out of date or whatever it was. They were bringing them back and eating them, you see. And so these 2 guys got arrested for this, for stealing out of rubbish, basically. So this trumped up charge was so annoyed Wally Hope that Wally Hope went down to the police station and started more than banging on the counter of the police station, which you don't do at police stations. And he's banging, let them people, let my Wallies out, you know, because they're only nicking food that was thrown away and stuff like this. And the next thing is, there was a few people with Wally Hope, 3 of them I think went down with Wally Hope to the police station to do this complaint. And 2 of them realised that Wally Hope was going a bit too far about his complaint, you know what I mean? Like he was like banging on the counter and stuff. They left, you know, because the police would say, hang on, you guys, you know. And the next thing, and the police were annoyed, getting really angry, you see. This local copper, you don't bang on the counter at a police station, it's not the way you do it, you know. So anyway, they arrested Wally Hope. They came behind a counter and arrested him, you see. And they searched him and they found a tab of LSD in his pocket. And then they arrested him for that. And because of his attitude, Wally Hope was so, hey, I'm right, I'm doing nothing wrong, which he was doing nothing wrong. But they didn't like it, and next thing, one thing led to the other. He was sectioned out of that. So I wasn't there, but I know, you know, I was not far away, as it were, you know, I was hearing all the strokes and moves, you know. And next time I saw him was at Watchfield, 1975. And
Can you stop there? I'm going to change tape. I'm just going to...
It's like a dentist drill, isn't it, in the background? No one likes dentist drills. No, that's what they say. I've heard one person say they like the sound of dentist drill.
No.
I don't actually believe them, you know, but they said that, you know. Where are we with these questions?
So it's really just following the chronology of him getting arrested now.
Yeah.
Which is May 75, April, May 75.
Yeah.
So it was...
Was it that late?
Yeah, according to what? Yeah, according to...
April, May, must be.
It might have been March 75, it's certainly 75.
Yeah, that would figure actually, yeah. That would figure. Yeah.
Was
before the festival season got going, yeah.
Was there a raid at the Amesbury squat?
Not really. No, I mean basically, Amesbury is like a kind of a. It's not a military garrison, but it's a kind of farming community. But it's also got a lot of military bases around there. You see, so there's a lot of squaddies there, and so we had to deal with a lot of drunken squaddies who always turn up to camp. And that was a kind of regular event. You know.
So trying to beat up the hippies?
No, sometimes, but mostly just being friendly, something to do. They were bored, but they'd be so drunk. Some of them, they'd come down from the pub and they'd roll up to the squats. You see, several squaddies, and you know, and these are tough guys, you know, and we're all sort of mostly soft hippies. You know what I mean? So it was a bit kind of like, you know, we're tolerating them, you know, sort of thing, you know, and being as nice as we could under the circumstances. And actually quite a lot of these squaddies later became part of the Stonehenge thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've met a few people like that. So, yeah. Do you ever remember an actual police raid? The old bill coming in and...
I never remember that. It might have happened, but I don't think the police were, apart from what happened with Wally Hope, the police weren't very particularly unreasonable. You know, I think it was unreasonable of them to arrest the 2 fellas for taking thrown away food out of a skip. But that's just local police being a bit pedantic. It's their job. So the police have got their job to do as well. You know?
So we're talking about what Wally was saying to the police when he got arrested. So he got searched after, you know, causing a fuss at the police station.
Yeah.
So what did he do after that? Do you think he brought it on himself, or he didn't help himself really?
Well, I mean, basically, Wally Hope was not a trained lawyer. And when you're dealing with people, even the police, involve the law, and so there are techniques and ways, and he was right to complain. But when the police started threatening him and say, look, go away, you've said your thing, go away, Wally Hope should have just left with the other two people who left. They said, right, this is it, we've had our complaint, we're going. And Wally Hope stayed there and kept sort of arguing the point about let them out, let them out. He was trying to get them released from the cells basically, he wouldn't leave, you know what I mean? So they say came round the counter and they sort of arrested him and searched him and found a tab of LSD on him, you see. So that means he was in the cells with, I know he was actually with the other two fellas who were in the cells, you know what I mean, the two young lads, you know. Wally Hope was older, you see, he was more like, you know, these youngsters, you know. And he was basically trying to get them out. But he didn't realise that the police have got a job to do, and you've got to respect the law, or else they'll get, you know, the law is the law, man, you know what I mean, like, you know, how it operates, you know. So, you know, he was also probably a bit high at the time, Wally Hope was, at a guess, you know, in that he didn't realise the moment was the time was to sort of, you know, like, you know, to back off, you know, so that got him in trouble. And the fact that he was a bit high on LSD meant that he was acting a bit strange. So when, I suppose, he was interviewed, they thought, why is he acting so strange? Not realising it's just a drug that wears off a few hours later, you know what I mean? They thought he'd probably like that anyway, you know, and also probably the media had given him confidence, and he was a bit sort of like, Wally Hope, you know, but he wasn't like that at all. He was a very humble, nice guy. So that, yeah, I mean, sure, the police overreacted. And the fact that he was high, when he was interviewed, they probably called a doctor in and have a look at this guy. And because he was tripping and all that, and LSD, the doctor obviously thought the guy's a bit crazy, you know what I mean? So then he got incarcerated, and the thing is, one mistake led to another mistake. You know, the guy was not crazy. Wally Hope was not crazy. You know, he was a very sensible, practical guy. But at the time of the incident with the police, he was tripping out of his head, and banging the police counter and all that. So, you know, you've always got naivety in dealing with the authorities, you know, would possibly be the case. And then also the psychiatrist, or who had the doctor who interviewed him, not realising it's just LSD and the guy will be sober a few hours later, you know, there's no problem, you know what I mean? And the psychiatrist was probably amateur, hadn't dealt with many people on drugs before, and then realised that, you know, and so he got incarcerated. And then,
do you remember where you were when you heard he'd been arrested?
I was in London, and I heard within a few days that he'd been arrested and stuff. And then we had a meeting, we organised a meeting at the Amesbury Squats shortly after he'd been arrested, because what was going to happen with the 75 Stonehenge Festival, because we were all expecting him to organise the second one, you see. And so the next thing we were saying, oh, well, it's not going to happen because, you know, because Wally Hope is sort of like being put in prison, so we're not going to have the seventh. So back in London, I was in touch with all these other people who organising festivals, various festivals, the Windsors and all that. So I organised a meeting, and a friend of mine, Steve Herman, who's actually got the oldest film of Wally Hope, well, he's passed over, Steve Herman. He was a good friend of mine, and he drove me down to Stonehenge, to the squats in Amesbury, and we all had a meeting of about 30 or 40 people, all talking about how we're going to plan the next 75 Stonehenge without Wally Hope, because he was our boss, you know, not boss, but, you know, our leader, you know, sort of thing, you know. It wasn't like that, it wasn't a kind of a strict pyramid structure, but that's the way it was, you know, we all, you know. So we decided we'd do our own thing, we'd still go ahead with the festival 75 anyway, without Wally Hope, you know what I mean, and if he'd come out of prison, he'd help, he'd agree with it, you know. And so we had this meeting in the squats in Amesbury, and we're down to London, and I bought his car for 16 quid, believe it. Can you believe it? 16 quid for a car. 8 of us parked in his car. And we drove down there, and we drove back, and halfway back, the car blew up on the motorway. And we left it in the motorway. And the next thing is, we all walked off into the farmland and left the vehicle side in the hard shoulder. It was all safe and everything, But yeah, crazy scene that was. And we hitchhiked home. But anyway, so then we'd all decided, we a certain amount of us, and out of the 30 people at the meeting, 3 or 4 of us did actually print up leaflets. You know what I mean? Mostly about 50 leaflets and all that. But you know, I printed up about 30,000 leaflets, you see, with some of the other people involved. And we distributed most of them all around places around. I knew a lot of people, and I had a lot of really well-connected friends in London, you know, and see. And they're also organising festivals anyway, so it was really easy for me, kind of comparatively easy for me, to go around every squat, every hippie house I knew, which was hundreds, you know, and hand them all the leaflets and stuff. And I'd go to concerts. Get out of there, dog. What are you doing? And I'd go to concerts and hand out leaflets outside Hawkwind concerts and things like that, and generally like that, and you know, and that got me involved in it all, you know. And
did you get a chance to visit Phil in the lunatic asylum in Salisbury?
Well, what happened with we tried to sort of you know, like personally, I was a 17-year-old kid, you know what I mean, like 17, and I was a bit young, you know what I mean. I had no money. I was like Emmett Grogan, who organised the Lovins. He had absolutely penniless. You know, the guy was a shoplifter and stuff like that. He did that with spare time. He'd print up loads of leaflets, and I was basically in a similar situation, absolutely poverty-stricken. But you know, when I got a little bit of money, and when I went to the printing press, which was this community printing press called Interaction in Cannon Town, and I went there, the guys were kind of sympathetic who run the printing press, and I paid them the money to print the 5,000 leaflets, you see. And the guys wandered off and just left us to do it. They showed us how to do the equipment and left us. So when they weren't looking, the other mate, who's a gypsy mate, King Arthur, his name is Arthur Wally, he's dead now. He's a gypsy, full-blood gypsy. Anyway, he said, right, now's our moment. They've gone out of the room. Let's print loads more. I said, we can't do that. They're so nice and honest. So we're doing it. So anyway, we did it. We printed up 30,000 leaflets instead of the 5,000 we paid for. And things like that used to happen, you know what I mean? So we cut corners with bills and all that, you know. And also because I knew so many people around Camden and Hampstead, I'd often give people a bunch of leaflets and they'd go and distribute amongst their group of people, you know. So I didn't have to hand out individually to one person, each person. I could give a bunch of leaflets to people, and sometimes they'd be wasted, and sometimes they wouldn't, you know. So we gradually built up a network around the country of thousands of people who'd turn up at my house every year. Where's my leaflet? They'd take them off to sort of Huddersfield or Manchester or somewhere like that and hand them out to their friends in pubs all around the country, you see.
So Stonehenge 75 was a success, really, wasn't it? It was very well attended.
It was, because of the media coverage of the 74 one, the 75 one, as soon as they saw my leaflets, they automatically knew about it, because they'd heard about the, if I'd handed out them 30,000 leaflets without Wally Hope, softening up the public, because it was national news, everybody in the country almost perhaps knew about the Wally Hope thing, you know. So my leaflets would reassure people, say, we're doing it again, you see. So he broke the ice, as it were, and I came in behind that sort of thing, you know.
Because Roger Hutchison did that jury poster, didn't he, for 75?
I don't remember that.
Oh,
there were a number of sort of side, you know, people printed up 50 leaflets and things like that around sort of thing as well, which also helped. It all helped, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know. Is he damaging your equipment there?
My equipment's up here anyway, so I mean, if he pisses in there, that's kind of just...
No, he won't
just
do
have to
that.
live with that. But
for some reason, there's a
so,
bag there. This is my chance to have another. Oh,
So
sit
not
down.
so-
Hey, dog. Sit there. Sit down. Sit. Boy, cool. Boy.
There was no Windsor in '75 because UB was put
There
in
was.
jail.
We had Windsor 75.
Was there?
Oh no, Watchfield 75.
Watch,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I mean.
Watchfield.
So Windsor was kind of UB got put in jail. Sidwell got put in jail.
Yes.
They let Sidwell out.
And Wally Hope was in jail.
And then
as well.
Wally
So
Hope was in
that
jail.
was the three main leaders who were
Yeah.
basically of the whole free festival who were in jail. And so they didn't expect, but there was also such a groundswell of public.
It looked as though it was planned,
Yeah.
but Wally's arrest seems as though he kind of brought it on himself. But do you think there was a premeditated strategy to take all the main festival protagonists out of action? Which is
Yeah.
what happened, didn't they?
I believe
All three of them
that's
got
what
put in jail.
happened because even with Wally Hope banging on the counter of the police station, even with Wally Hope being caught with the 1 tab of LSD, I mean, what crime he had done? 1 tab of LSD is not the crime of the century. Banging on a police station, all right, a bit of disrespect to the police maybe. He didn't mean it as disrespect. He was just saying, let my friends out. This is a silly, incident. But the fact they kept him in prison, in the mental hospital for such a long time, that was odd because LSD wears off in a day. You know what I mean? And then you're back to normal.
And lots of people getting arrested on possession of LSD, but not being sectioned for it.
Exactly.
And also, what was suspicious is the fact that he got let out straight after Stonehenge 75 finished.
That's right, yeah.
So it kind of seems that seems
Well,
strange.
during 75, we were trying to get him out of the. I mean, Susie Creamcheese, who was a famous groupie with Frank Zappa, she was talking about, we've got to get Wally Hope out of, and with people going from the 75 festival at Stonehenge down to the mental hospital, Salisbury, I think it was, where with Wally Hope, there were people going backwards and forwards. So I was hearing accounts of Wally Hope, and I was hearing that the guy was completely out of his head, on Largactol, and it was very hard to even communicate with him, and they weren't letting him out, basically. And we tried to get him released for it. There was no way that he was being released then. But he was out shortly after, I think just after 75 festival. He was released, from his mental hospital thing. And then I saw him at Watchfield 75, and the guy was a zombie basically, I mean, obviously I'm an old hippie and I've known plenty of people who've been drunk or on drugs in my time, and Wally Hope was on Largactol and the guy was acting like a zombie. He'd be talking a sentence, halfway through the sentence he'd forget what he was talking about, and it'd be a simple sentence, and he was like really gone. I reckon it would have taken at least 2 years for him to sobered up and got back to normal, at least, if ever he got back to normal. You know what I mean? Because he was too tanked up on Largactol.
What was your own personal thing about Watchfield? The actual event itself?
Well,
because it was a concession after Windsor.
Yeah.
They said you can't do it at Windsor anymore, but we'll give you Watchfield.
Yeah.
So what was your own feeling about? And Sidwell had been put in prison, and they let him out to help organise Watchfield.
Yeah.
So what was your own personal feeling about Watchfield?
Well, I knew a lot of the organisers I knew U.B. Dwyer, I knew Sid Walls, I knew all these people, and basically, so I was fully informed of what was happening, stroke by stroke, move by move, and I completely supported it, Watchfield, and personally I think the same thing with Watchfield is what really the government should have stepped in and did with the Stonehenge thing. Rather than banning Stonehenge outright, the festivals and gatherings at Stonehenge, which has been going on for tens of thousands of years in this country, these large gatherings at Stonehenge. Stonehenge is made for large gatherings. Now they're trying to say too many people are going to Stonehenge. A few thousand people. Now that's what they're saying now. Hippies damage Stonehenge. That's the kind of authority still. Even now there was whispers of that kind of attitude. Yet when Stonehenge was built, it was built the 500,000 people who were around the area at the time when Stonehenge was built. They were rich farming people. And the Stonehenge was built for large gatherings. of hundreds of thousands of people. So you tell me, mate, why the authorities are so against it. I don't know.
So, after Watchfield, Wally died a few days later. Do you remember when and where you were when you heard the news that he died?
I was late. I had my girlfriend and got me a job on his building site with some friends, and I was working as a hottie on a building site, labouring on a building site. And I read it in the Daily Telegraph. I think it was a front page news about Wally Hope had died at a dinner break. I was so shocked I couldn't continue my job. Absolutely devastated. I went home. I lost my job. It's a real drag. It really cost me a lot of trouble and stuff, losing a good job. It was around the corner and everything where I lived. And I couldn't get another job for ages afterwards. And that was the immediate impact of hearing about Wally Hope dying, And then, like, after that, set in a lot of paranoia, because I thought if he's died, and it's a bit odd how he's died, it's like, it's not definite that he was pushed rather than fell over, but God, it looked suspicious, his death, So, like, I thought, blimey, am I next? You know what I mean? So I went underground and got really scared. So I started doing my leaflets in a very sort of underground kind of way. And so, like, I wouldn't put my name on any of my leaflets, or I wouldn't put any, my address out, for many, many years. And I would post all the letters out. So I had to post out loads of letters to alternative press. I'd go to Notting Hill Gate, which is the other side of London, and I'd post all the letters from there. So I suppose the authorities were looking for some guy in Notting Hill Gate rather than, it took them about 3 years to catch up to me, you know what I mean, and then started really following me around and harassing me a bit. But by then it was already established to see was, and so it wasn't such a threat, I don't think, by then. They'd realised, it was the initial impact of Wally Hope's idea ruffled quite a lot of feathers in Wiltshire area. Wiltshire's a very military area of England, near Stonehenge, and to have such a huge invasion of thousands of hippies, to have such a huge invasion of thousands of hippies turn up at Stonehenge, I don't think the local police and military were too keen on all this, you see. So initially they were very worried about it. They got to learn how to deal with it very quickly. And then it was okay. But then first few years was a little bit sort of, for me, scary, to be honest, you know what I mean?
Yeah, what do you think about Wally Jeff Moonlight died the year before? That was a mysterious death as well.
Well, when Jeff Moonlight died, and Wally Hope died, and also Lenny got put in prison for 9 years, and so all the main people of the Wally camp all suddenly taken away, we were all kids. I was this next generation. I was only 17, 18 years old, you know what I mean? And these guys were all in their 30s and late 20s and stuff. So they were we looked up to them as the elders, you know what I mean? When they all disappeared, and you got all Lenny prison 9 years for dealing LSD, and a string of stolen cars and stuff he had. And then he's still alive. He's 90 years old, up in old age pensions home up in Wales and that. So then Wally Hope died, and Bill the Wire put in prison, and Jeff Moonlight dying, you know what I mean? And that was so suspicious. That was even more suspicious than Wally Hope's death, actually.
Tied to a tree.
Yeah, tied to a tree. One hand tied to a tree or whatever it was, and died. I knew that guy, and he was a successful, happy guy making quite a lot of money small-time dealing soft drugs like marijuana. He was a marijuana dealer, basically. And his input, being at Stonehenge, he meant he had some money. Anyone was all skint and bored, he'd break out and give us all a bit of hash to smoke and make the whole scene happy again. And he was one of those mainstreams to keep it all going. Wally Hope kept it all going with his enthusiasm and stuff. But people like Jeff Moonlight kept it going with the actual, the bread and butter of the situation, as it were, you know what I mean? And Lenny,
But what do you think happened with Jeff's death? Jeff Moonlight's death?
It's very suspicious.
I mean, do you think it might have been rival gangs? Or Sorry, another drug firm.
But yeah, well, I found it intriguing. His death was intriguing, and I don't think it was a rival drug firm. I don't think it was suicide. The guy wasn't depressed or anything like that. It was suspicious death. Same as Wally Hope's death. I mean, both these things could have an innocent explanation, but both of them look damn suspicious. You know what I mean? And in the context of the bigger picture, you know, what can you say? You know what I mean? Like, you know, it looked to me like it was the situation was being cleaned up and trying to solve it. But you see, Stonehenge has got its own power. Stonehenge is one of the chakras of planet Earth. These things have energy beyond normal sort of situations, you know. And so they didn't really suppress it. You know, these people go, Lenny disappearing off the scene in prison, Jeff Moonlight dying in mysterious circumstances, Wally Hope dying in mysterious circumstances. All this kind of like, you know, made me really paranoid, to be honest. But I had a lot of good friends, hundreds of good friends and all that, so I kind of felt fairly safe, you know, and I thought, you know, like, you know, so...
Something that's come out, I'm going to make more of
that
it.
Wasn't very well put, was it, that last bit?
Something that's come out, talking about Stonehenge, I since interviewed Edward Rees, who was the barrister who represented the Wallies in the High Court.
Yes.
And of course he was very happy to talk about it and has fond memories of representing the Wallies. So this is in the new version of the film. And he said something that I didn't put in this old version, but we'll definitely go in the new one. And part of their defence was that the fact that there's evidence, documented evidence of the guy, I can't remember the name of the person who originally owned Stonehenge, that he gifted it to the people.
Yes, the guy called Chubb.
Yeah, in 1914, yeah. So what's your position on that? What do you know about that?
Well, there was Stonehenge is a triangle of land, you know, in Wiltshire on the corner of the roads and all that. It's been there for thousands and thousands of years. And basically, it changed hands, ownership, a number of times. Obviously, for thousands of years, nobody owned it. It belonged to everybody, you know. In more recent history, it changed owner. One owner was a very good people, the Chubb family. I think they're connected to Chubb locks. I couldn't be sure about that. But they gave it to the nation as a gift to the nation. Now, that's very good and honourable. But as some people know, if you're a very wealthy person and you gift something to the nation, it's only really a gift to the nation as long as you've got people there guarding it as a gift to the nation. As soon as the people who are dead and gone, then the government owns it, and they don't really care who gave it to them. Because they're only concerned about its government property. You know what I mean? The whole thing about the guy gave it to the government for the protection of the people, that immediately goes out the window. And that is common with all these gifts to, in this similar sort of gifts where they say, oh, on condition that, you know, no one picks the flowers or something like that, I'll give this to the park, to the people of the city or whatever. Sure enough, as soon as the person's dead, they're all picking the flowers or whatever, or they sell it off sometimes to private people or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's a kind of a regular thing. When you gift something like that, it's only strong when the people are there to protect the gift. So if the descendants of that person, or there's a trust, a group of people that protect it, then a gift like that is protected. In this case, as in most cases, similar cases, there's no real protection once the person who's given the gift has passed away. You know, and that's the same what happened to Chubb. It's very sad, and it makes the government look very greedy. And so that's a weakness in international law, you know. English law.
Hello, just one. Yeah.
When people say the legacy, Wally Hope's legacy, what I say about Wally Hope's legacy is he'll be remembered forever. And people respect and love the guy. He was a gift to the world. And what he did, he gave a gift to the world, and Stonehenge is still loved and respected. Before Wally Hope came along, Stonehenge, half the people in this country had never even heard of Stonehenge. More than half the people in this country had never even heard of it. You know? Now everybody almost has heard of Stonehenge in this country. You know, it's a well-known thing, and it's international now. And now millions of people. When Wally did it, there was about 20,000 visitors a year. Now there's 1 million visitors a year nearly to Stonehenge.
Well, so, another question, another final question. When people mention, say, the word Wally Hope to you, or the two words Wally Hope, what do you see in your mind's eye?
Well, I remember a really nice guy, you know, and he was an upper class guy, but he was never a snob, and I was like a cockney, you know. And a lot of guys, he would talk to me the same, with respect, as he talked to everybody else, you know what I mean? And I find out them days, England is it's unlike the United States of America, it's a very class-ridden society, you know what I mean? And, you know, a lot of people break through the class structure. And Wally Hope was one of those guys, he was an individual, he was in a class of his own, basically. And he talked to people as people. And that gained my respect immediately, you know what I mean? He never talked down to me, never.
Did he talk?
I was a kid, I was a skid sort of kid, you know.
Did he talk a lot? Was there a lot? Did you ever get receiving any?
Nah, he wasn't. There all these big diatribes, and I never heard him doing all this kind of stuff. He never lectured people, or he was a very much more relaxed than, you know. I think a lot of people have added tuppence to the story since, and some of these tuppences don't weigh up. You know what I mean? You know, and you know, the guy was a really cool guy. You know, he didn't lecture people, or he'd more like suggest ideas rather than tell people what to do. You know what I mean? He's one of those type of people, you know.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Willie. Much appreciated. Cheers. That was good,
Cool.
wasn't it?
Good as I Well done.
Cheers, man.
How was it for you?
I don't know if it went very well, but you know.
No, it went great.